Hi there, and welcome to this fourth week of the course and this last week on Derrida. This week we're going to be looking at Derrida's theology, or what he does with theology, and I want to begin by asking one of the most obvious questions when approaching Derrida and theology, which is Derrida an atheist? Now, it's a really easy question to ask. It's actually quite a complex question to answer. So let's go through it slowly and see what we can make of it. The first thing to try and get clear on is what sort of God is Derrida talking about when he talks about God? Because there are different gods that one can and cannot believe in, and we want to know if Derrida is an atheist, or if he isn't, which gods is he or not atheistic in relation to. The God that is most evoked and that is very strongly dismissed by Derrida is the God of what's called ontotheology. Now, what does that mean? Ontos, the Greek for being, theos, Greek for God, and logos, as in John chapter 1, word, or more precisely here, study. So, ontotheology is the study of God as the highest being. Okay, so there's a hierarchy of being, and God is the highest being. Now, already we can begin to see, wait a minute, this is quite a different sort of God to the God of the Bible. Indeed, it is. It's a God that is condemned by a whole tradition of modern and contemporary European thought, going back at least as far as Martin Heidegger, who talks about and dismisses this God of ontotheology. I put a quotation here on the slide from his Identity and Difference, where he says, "This is the appropriate name for the God of philosophy. Man cannot pray to this God, nor offer sacrifices to him. Man cannot fall to his knees in awe before the causa sui, nor dance and play music before this God." In other words, this is a bit like the polyphila or putty God that I mentioned way back in the introductory lecture on Nietzsche. It's a God to fill in the philosophical gaps and holes in the universe so that everything coheres and makes sense together. It's God as an idea rather than God as an existential reality or indeed as a person. Derrida has no place for this God of ontotheology. When it comes to talking about religion and theology more broadly, however, his pronouncements are a little bit more ambiguous. I've pulled one here out of Circumfession, probably his most intimate religious text or quasi-theological text. He's riffing on Augustine's Confessions as he's writing it, and he says this: "The constancy of God in my life is called by other names, so that I quite rightly pass for an atheist." Now, he's doing a number of things in this quotation. First of all, I want to draw your attention to this idea of the constancy of God going by other names in his life. I'm not going to explain it now, but I want you to remember it now, because in a subsequent video I'm going to come back to this and tell you why I think it's incredibly important. Okay? What I want to think about now is this idea of quite rightly passing for an atheist. Why doesn't Derrida just say, "I am an atheist"? Why hedge his bets in this way? Why complexify his language in this way? Well, the reason is that atheism is implicated in all the problems that he sees with theism. So what theism will do is it'll make a claim about the absolute, about ultimate reality. I know what the absolute truth of the universe is. It is God. Okay? And what Derrida would be hesitant at in that claim is its categorical nature. It's claimed to have grasped and have discerned the content, the determinate content of absolute reality. Remember from last week's reading from Force of Law, you cannot say here and now, "I am just," to claim absolute justice for yourself in the present. Well, it's a similar thing here, to grab hold of and grasp absolute reality, to reduce it to a content or a statement. Okay? So that's why theism is problematic, but equally and in a symmetrical way, atheism claims the same thing. Theism claims to know the nature of ultimate reality, there's a God, and atheism claims with the same categorical dogmatism to know the nature of ultimate reality, there is no God. And so Derrida always stops short of falling into that trap of claiming some absolute knowledge. So I rightly pass for an atheist is a way of not falling into that trap. He's saying something subtly different to I am an atheist. He's stopping short of that dogmatic statement. Just so that I don't leave you in any doubt, however, it's not that his thought is a theology. It's not that he embraces the notion of God. He hedges his bets, and indeed in the early essay Différence we have this idea that I think is fundamental for our understanding of Derrida and theology, that Différence blocks every relationship to theology. Okay, so there's no theology as we know it, there's no God as we know him in Derrida's thought. We'll see in a subsequent video that there is a theology as of sorts and a God of sorts, but there's a key way in which Derrida reframes these ideas within his own thought. And we'll look at that in the next video as X without X.